use that weapon. And we now have well over 100 school districts in the state of Texas where teachers or other people who work in the school do carry a weapon and are trained to be able to respond to an attack that occurs. Now, it's not always a school teacher. It could be a coach. It could be an administrator. It could be anybody who works in that school. But it's a well-thought-out program with a lot of training in advance. And candidly, some school districts, they promote it because they will have signs out front, a warning sign that be aware there are armed personnel on campus, warning anybody coming on there that if they attempt to cause any harm, they're going to be in trouble.
Well, I think that's great. And so essentially what you're saying is that when a sick individual comes into that school, they can expect major trouble, right? Major trouble. The bullets are going to be going toward him also. And I think that's great. And you know what's going to happen? Nobody's going into that school, Greg. That's a big difference. That was really well said. Thank you very much. Anybody? The governors are so quiet. I can't believe it.
Deterrent. What are we doing?
Mr. President.
So well behaved today. I can't believe this.
We'll start acting up soon. Mr. President, I just want to say that in Arkansas we have a very similar situation or program as what Greg has described in Texas. I have the belief that no teacher should be compelled, and most of them want to teach and focus on that. But others are concerned about their students and have training and specific capacity, as you've described. And so we have licensed certain school districts and those who want to be trained more significantly so that they can handle an active shooter situation. And so we have over 13 schools in Arkansas that can't afford a school resource officer. They prefer to have those either in the classroom or assistant coach or someone that would have a response capability. And that's the key thing. So that flexibility, I think what the governors want to say is that there can't be necessarily a national security plan, but the states can develop this. And we did make some recommendations back in 2012, though, in reference to federal grants. Some of the biggest expense is training. Some of the biggest expense will be hardening of our schools, as Governor Ivey suggested. And so I hope that your Department of Homeland Security and looking at some of the grants that come from DHS in terms of security fighting terrorists, some of that money can be utilized by local jurisdictions as well for the protection of #1 priority of protecting our students and our schools.
Yes, and Governor, you know how well we're doing. You know, it's a never-ending quest, but with respect to MS-13, and these people are really causing havoc in certain communities, and with school children and people walking home from school, what's going on, and we're moving them out by the thousands, but we have to get immigration laws that allow us to do what we have to be able to do. They are so soft. No country in the world has immigration laws so soft like we do. So that's also a part of it. I appreciate what you said. Thank you very much, Governor. Yes, Paul?
President, I would ask that you address the Congress and ask them to look at the HIPAA laws, particularly with mental illness, because we need help from the federal government to loosen up the law so that we can do the truly good background checks on people.
Good, and that's what we're going to be doing. And as you know, Paul, we're really, I think, going to have the support of the NRA having to do with background checks, very strong background checks, and a very heavy section on mental health. Far different than what we've had in the past. Thank you, Paul. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President, for allowing us as governors to participate and give our perspectives as each of our states are different. And as I've thanked you before, this was not something that we were engaged in before with previous administration. I do see that there is a huge pool of retired law enforcement officers where municipalities and counties have actually invested a lot of money into training them, and now they're retired. And often because they are receiving a public retirement, they cannot go back into that similar kind of retirement plan. If they go into an educational plan, they can actually work for a school, be trained. The school doesn't have to train them, but also they can learn and figure out where cameras and different security pieces need to be implemented within the schools because of their experience and training. And so this is a pool of folks that we can immediately put out without having to expend great